There's a lot of great coaches out there that paint this picture that once you get into multifamily, you can quit your job. But the reality is you only get paid in multifamily as a general partner when you start making enough money to pay your investors a preferred return.
Well, welcome back to the Know Your Numbers REI podcast. Your host, Chris McCormack, and today we have another special guest in the name of Mrs. Jennifer Barner. Jennifer is the founder of Lighthouse Ventures, a real estate syndicate operating with over 1,100 doors, and she also has a passion to teach others to do what she has done. She's seen some great success in the real estate space, and Jennifer, I'll hand it over to you. You can kind of take us through your journey from single family homes to where you are today, and then we can get into the discussion.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm honored and grateful for this opportunity to share my story, and hopefully it gives inspiration to others that are just getting started. But the funny thing is I went to a Rich Dad conference and I didn't know anything about Rich Dad or that whole program. But I walked away from that going, wow, this woman just stood before us and said she could be dropped in any city in the U.S. and start making money with her knowledge of real estate. And that was so inspiring to me that I thought, I got to get my husband on board this. And he just wanted me to pay a simple utility bill with the knowledge that I was going to gain. And I thought, oh, it's going to be much bigger than that. And because of real estate, we were able to put all 4 kids through college. And we've flipped 45 homes to date. And when I say we, he has a full-time job. So he is in the background cheering me on, supporting me, mentally and such. But after a lot of flipping homes, I ended up going into the multifamily space because I found real estate later in life. And I knew I needed to go as fast as I could. So over the last decade, I've been in the multifamily space, building a portfolio of multifamily properties across the Sun Belt. And I am now going back over into single family homes. I've created a coaching program with hopes of helping other mothers like myself gain financial freedom for their families. And so that's what I'm doing today.
That's awesome. So take us through the process of going from single family to multifamily and now going back to single family. Some people have it in their mind that if they can just get to the multifamily realm or start running a syndication, then it'll all be good and fun from there on out. But it seems like you've seen it all and you prefer to be in the single family. So take us through the thought process and actually what went on behind the scenes in that process.
There's a lot of great coaches out there that paint this picture that once you get into multifamily, you can quit your job. But the reality is you only get paid in multifamily as a general partner when you start making enough money to pay your investors a preferred return. That's the only time you get paid, unless you take an asset management fee. But if you're only taking 2 to 3%, you're only getting $400 to $500 a month on that asset. And you're not going to make a living for your family at $400 to $500 a month. And so until that asset actually goes full cycle, meaning you buy it and you take it through 3 to 5 years of owning it, and then you sell it for a profit, you're not actually getting paid on that asset. And so people have to do deal transactions to put food on the table. And once you get into this space and you start doing multifamily transactions, you realize, wow, I have no income coming in. Whereas in single family, when you have a rental portfolio that you've built up, those single families will pay you every single month. And if you stack enough of those on top of one another, they can provide for your entire family's livelihood every single month. And especially if you buy those homes in an IRA, well, let me take an IRA aside, because we did buy some homes in our IRAs. And because we're not at the age where we can take that rental income, that has kind of hurt us in terms of we're now realizing, hey, we need to be buying properties outside of our IRA. So when that rental income comes in, we can actually be living off of that. So, we've done really well in this space, but it's been very eye-opening. There's things that coaches don't tell you. And then you get into it and you're like, ooh, we can't actually quit our job, or my husband can't really come home and be financially free because there's not enough passive income from those assets. And I've got 11 of them that I'm invested in these syndications as an investor and a general partner. And yet I still can't say it's enough to support our family and allow my husband to come home.
Wow.
So we are now building side by side our multifamily portfolio, and we're building our single family portfolio. And we're getting creative in additional ways of how can we build up other streams with the knowledge that we have that will allow my husband to retire. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, that's great. So the multifamilies that you have 11 of them, and the goal is the goal for all of them to exit in 3 to 5 years, or is it some of them are going to be buy and holds and just get the cash flow that you make on top of the preferred return? What's the play with your multifamily?
So it depends on the asset. This is a great question. It depends on the asset, but typically when you're a general partner and you find an asset that's going to cash flow and you feel good about your numbers, you usually hold that for 3 to 5 years because investors typically don't want you to hold their money past 5 years. Now, as a general partner, we will tell our investors that in the event that the market is sluggish and we need to hold the property longer, we will, because at the end of the day, our goal is to make a profit for all of our investors and the general partners. We too invest in those assets also. So the play is to invest in as many of these as possible in a 3 to 5 year span. And then in 3 to 5 years, you create this net worth snowball where if your assets are paying 80 to 100% of the money you put in, now you have a huge windfall on the backside with all this cash coming in. And that's when it gets beautiful, right? Some of our assets, though, they are legacy assets where we buy them in really highly desirable areas where we know that we want to hold on to these things longer than 5 years. So we're putting our money into those knowing that we're going to refinance when the opportunity arises, when the rates drop a little lower than our current interest rate, and when we've built up a little bit more equity, and when we can return capital to our investors, then those will become long-term holds for us.
Okay.
And those are what we call legacy assets.
Understood.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think one thing that sticks out to me is the fact that you've been able to get all 4 of your kids through college using real estate while also acknowledging the fact that you came into real estate kind of later. I think you said 2016? Or
I came, 2015 is when I got into real estate. So a decade ago.
Yeah. So with your kids not being too far removed from college, like how did that work out? How did you actually get them through college with the power of real estate? What did it take as somebody who's planning to leave an inheritance for our children and get them to the next stage of life in a comfortable way? What was the nuts and bolts strategies that you did to work through and get your kids through college debt-free with the power of real estate?
Yeah. So this is my favorite part.
Yeah.
I look back and I was like, wow, the hand of the Lord was on every single thing I did. He kept showing me, he kept putting people in my path.
Yeah.
That would bring me homes that people were wholesaling. And for our audience who doesn't know what wholesaling is, we've all seen the homes that have a lot of deferred maintenance that you don't see on the MLS or on Zillow or any of these other like realtor.com or any of these sites. And that's because nobody wants to go tour those. Those are what investors want. And so I had some people on my path that were bringing me these homes. So we put a heat lock on our home and use those funds to go and flip a home. So I would buy the home, and as soon as that money got returned to me, I would rinse and repeat. And then as I was getting more and more homes coming at me, I found a resource that had a lot of money. He was a business owner that had sold his company and had a lot of money. So he was borrowing on margin. And so Here, his money wasn't leaving the stock market,
Right.
but yet he had the ability to borrow on margin. So he was giving me that money.
Mm.
I was then paying him interest, and he would come to my homes and vet that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And when he felt secure that he saw that I could return his money and I could make monthly payments to him on his money, then he gradually started lending me more and more money to a point where I had $2 million lent out. I had 8 homes going at the same time. So it's very easy to scale very quickly in this business, but you have to have people around you that can help you administratively. So I had a bookkeeper helping me keep track of all the expenses on all the different houses.
Yeah.
That was one way, but flipping is the way I put all of our kids through college.
Okay. Got it. So there's 2 things that come to mind. One is the administrative piece. It sounds like you delegated to, say, a bookkeeper. Were you managing most of the projects? Were you going to the properties and making sure that they were meeting the right timelines? Were they long distance and hiring other people to do that? What was that like, the other admin piece?
Yeah. So I lived in the Kansas City market, and I found we had three different teams going on these houses. And so at the start of every week, I knew exactly what was happening at each house, where we were at in the stage of renovation. My goal was always, I want to get in and out in 6 weeks.
Mhm.
And if we couldn't get out in 6 weeks, then 8 weeks max. I wouldn't take on homes that I knew we couldn't do within that time frame. And then at the end of that, I was personally touching every single receipt. And when I realized, wow, at about house 3, it was starting to get a little cumbersome, that's when I hired a bookkeeper, and we were walking hand in hand every single day, either at the start of the day or the end of the day. And I was categorizing all the receipts, and she was making sure. So we were using Google Sheets, and we had this elaborate setup. We weren't even using QuickBooks.
Yeah.
We had an elaborate system that worked out really well for me. When you get in this space, I just look back and I think, man, God brought all the right people to me. I also had somebody that went on the courthouse steps for me.
Wow.
And he would find houses for me. He'd go take pictures. But yes, on Fridays, I would go drive all the properties and make sure we were staying on task. I wished, though, that I knew what I know now back when I was raising our kids, because I look back and I think there are so many educational tips I could have been teaching our children. They were in middle school and high school when I got started in this.
Okay.
But it's been fun because my daughter, she ended up house hacking. As soon as she graduated from college, I said, move back in, start saving money, and then go buy a duplex, rent out one side. That renter will pay your rent, and you're going to be living debt-free. Now, you do have a mortgage on your home. And when her husband proposed to her, I said, well, you can marry her after you go buy your own duplex. So we went and bought a duplex. I mean, it's the power of real estate. This is how you get going. You just need to surround yourself with people that think bigger than you do, right?
Absolutely.
Know them and know the possibilities.
And trust God, bring him into it, and he'll make
Absolutely.
I love it. So the second part of that, as you were going through the flipping and getting your kids through college, was the fact that you used flips to fund it. And obviously, as a CPA, the biggest thing that comes to mind when people are using flips is the often misconception that real estate has tax benefits. But when you're in the real estate, or when you're in the flipping space, as we were talking off camera, it's the active income, and now you're subject to taxes that you might not be subject to on the regular rental buy and hold side. So was there ever a time where you were kind of shocked at the tax bill that you were facing when it came to the flips, or did you have a CPA or a tax planner in your corner that was kind of coaching you through that
No.
as well?
Yeah, I love this. Thank you for highlighting this, because early on, when I got my first rental property and my first flip, my CPA confessed he does not know real estate and that I needed to find somebody else. So I found a CPA that had business background, because I knew that people that own their own businesses, they just think differently. They're always thinking of different strategies, right, of how they can lower their tax bill legally. And so I knew that my flipping was active income, and it was going to be treated no differently than a W-2 income. And so, but simultaneously, I was also investing in these syndications that if you go back in time, Trump was giving 100% depreciation on these type of assets. So everything that I was doing was getting offset by me taking a portion of that income and investing it in our syndications. So I was really splitting everything that was coming in. Some of it was going to our kids' education, and another portion was going to syndications.
Yeah.
So that's how I offset it, and it's been beautiful. Yeah. So
you offset, you knew that there was a tax bill coming, so then you used what was available to you at the time with the 100% bonus depreciation and the syndications to, just make your dollar go further. You weren't paying the government, you were buying an asset that appreciates, but they give you depreciation for it. And so you had a low tax bill, you got your kids through college, and then you had assets in the form of real estate that could create income for you, cash flow for you. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that. I think one thing you mentioned on the outset, and so there's two things that I think the listener should be aware of. One is that the flips are active, but we can use things like syndications or bonus depreciation when it's set up properly to offset some of that active income. And then two, you mentioned the self-directed IRA, investing in real estate with an IRA, and some of the downfalls there, right? You can't access that until you reach the age requirements. And then also just from a tax perspective, you're not going to see these depreciation benefits that you will outside of the retirement accounts, because just as all the cash is inside your retirement account, all the tax benefits are inside the retirement account, which doesn't really yield a benefit as well. So that's just for the listener there. I guess for you, Jennifer, what is your heart behind what you're doing now? I know you mentioned the moms and teaching moms to do what you've done so that they don't miss out on some of the teaching lessons that you were looking back on and wish you had. So how are you now using your story to transform the lives of others?
yeah, so every year I try to look back at what is our portfolio doing? Where is there future opportunity in the coming years? And when I look back, it's been a struggle over the last 3 years in multifamily, and I won't get into the weeds about why, but particularly it has to do with interest rates.
Yeah.
However, that market is going to come back, but I see a great opportunity for young moms to learn the skills that I have. They don't need to wait until their kids are approaching college to learn this skill. It's not difficult, and it's taking assets that are around us that they may not know that they have, and being able to leverage them, teach these skills to their own kids that they're raising, whether they're toddlers or whatever. Our kids are great students of just watching what we're doing, you build really great life skills. And so I want to help other young moms and mothers learn these life skills, but then funnel some of those funds over to depreciating assets like multifamily. I mean, I think the Lord has really helped us take the best of both worlds, right? Make quick cash that can support their family and take vacations and or serve in missions that, they've always wanted to do, but never had the funds to do. So I just feel very passionate about that, and that I've created a coaching program, and it is set to launch here come January. So
Awesome.
excited about that.
Yeah. Who is the ideal client for that coaching program? Is it a stay-at-home mom? Is it somebody with young kids? Like, what's the clientele that you're looking for?
Yeah, I have a passion to help mothers that maybe have stay-at-home children, or they want to have their kids stay at home and they don't know a way to do that, or maybe their kids. Yeah, I think that's who it is. It's young mothers that really want to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah. Well, I know my wife, Jasmine, is going through some of your teachings already. I think she might be in a beta program of sorts, but I think what her eyes are lighting up every time she mentions it. And we've talked about, we're looking for a house hack that's right up the street and getting in our first deal. And yeah, it's cool it is when you get into the space of entrepreneurship and real estate investing, and you're forced to think differently and creatively about how things work. It just opens the eyes of opportunity that's out there. And then to think of that from a kid's perspective, right? When kids see that that's what their parents do. I mean, I've always said, like, forget a college fund. I'll start a small business fund for our children. And when they reach 18, they can tap into it and invest in real estate or start a business. I mean, who knows what college will be at that point, but it is important to have that extra cash, which comes by increasing income and then saving on taxes, which you've been able to do, Jennifer. And it's inspiring to say the least. I think to land the plane a little bit, if somebody's listening to this and is thinking like, wow, nice job, Jennifer, but I don't know how I could see myself doing that. I guess a good question that I'm curious about, what are some of the things that you take for the mothers, the young mothers, that hinders them? What gets in their way of getting started and being able to begin this journey in real estate, and specifically in the either flipping or single family home space? As somebody who's seen a lot and had a lot of conversations, what have you seen that holds people back from getting started?
Yeah, I think moms think they don't have the time and they're exhausted all the time. They don't have the resources. They don't have the money. And when you start to think differently, like an investor, and just be exposed and get around people that are thinking differently than you do, or how we've been brought up thinking, I think that the blinders come off, and all of a sudden your mind starts to expand and say, wait, I could take out a home equity line of credit on my home. Got a little equity there. I have friends that have money, or maybe they would take a chance on me. No different than this private money lender taking a chance on me. And my dad had already passed away, or I would have went to him if I didn't have, the opportunity to use a heat lock on our home. I would have went to my parents and said, would you take a chance on me? I love what you said about the college. We also started using life insurance plans. And I had heard that people were doing that, and I didn't quite understand it.
Yeah.
And so I started testing that, and I've invested in 3 different syndications with the use of my life insurance policy. So when you hang out with people that think differently, your mind just expands. And so I would say for all those people, you just need to change who you're hanging out with and really be open to different ways, because young moms have the resources. They can time block, and I can teach them how to do that. I was still managing 4 kids when I came into this space. And so I know they can do it too.
Yeah. What was that conversation like with the private investor, the person who had just sold their business and had a lot of cash? How did you go about getting him to invest in you? Obviously, after a while, he saw the projects, but initially, what were some of those conversations you were having? How did you even find out that the money was available? And take us through that process.
Yeah, so I had a mutual friend. He was my business partner at the time, and he was the one that knew him.
Okay.
And so he introduced me and us to each other, because my business partner was holding down a W-2 job. So I was the one actually running the jobs and projects. And so he didn't know me at all. So I had to share with him my rental portfolio, what I had done to date, and give him just some examples of flips that I had done prior to he and I engaging in a conversation. And I think he was willing to take a risk. He also had a cousin that was a lawyer. And so he made sure he documented everything, so he was protected. Okay. And I think anybody that's a private lender should absolutely make sure that they put the appropriate documentation in place to protect themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal is to become the lender. We all want to become the lender at the end of all this. And I think when I look back, though, if I didn't have exposure to him, then that's the next thing. There are private money lenders at these REI groups, and they're located in every city. You just have to go and make connections. It's all about networking.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a growing field. We have plenty of clients in that space, but it's just interesting to think about how you introduce that topic. And it's like you have peanut butter, somebody else has jelly, you put the two together and it makes a great sandwich. And so you had the resources of buying the properties and being able to get them to a place where they could sell for more. And he had extra cash and wanted to put that cash to work. So that's great. Jennifer, if you will, just take us through how people can get in touch with you. And then also, I saw on your website an excerpt for Hearts for Mom. If you could just talk about what it is that you're doing with them too, because I've heard great things about them, and it seems like you're partnering with them or at least promoting them on your webpage. So if more people could be aware of them too, that'd be great.
Yeah, Hearts for Moms is a wonderful foundation that's in Florida, and they're helping single moms get back up on their feet. They're giving them the resources they need and educating them in areas of just everyday basic tools that we need to live life successfully. And they're helping people get degrees, graduate from high school, graduate from college, like nursing programs, help give them a car so that they can get around. So Hearts for Moms is just an incredible organization started by Angela Ball, and they've helped lots of mothers get back on their feet and support their children. And I think it's all about giving the moms the resources that they can then pass down to their children, that they don't find themselves in the situation that they're currently in.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So do you actively partner with them in business, meaning some of your proceeds go to them, or is it just, how do you integrate them into your business?
So I have a business goal to support them. I'd like to
Awesome.
support, And that's a financial goal that I have for myself, but I have been giving to them annually over the last 2 years since I've known about them.
Awesome.
And it's near and dear to my heart. I would hate to ever think that any of my daughters might find themselves in a similar situation. Right. So I really think it's an incredible organization.
Yeah, that's beautiful. How can people reach out to you if they want to get involved in the courses that you're creating, or maybe even look at some of the deals that you got going? What's the best way to stay in touch and see what you're up to?
The best way is to reach out to me personally via email. I'm Jennifer, that's 2 N's, 1 I, 1 F, or at Lighthouse Ventures.com. So Jennifer at Lighthouse-Ventures.com.
I love it.
They can go to my website, Lighthouse-Ventures.com as well.
Absolutely. There is one question that we ask all of our guests on the Know Your Numbers podcast. You have not been made aware of it, but if you are willing, would you be willing to tell us what is one truth about money that most people regard as myth?
I think everybody thinks all millionaires are made through real estate, and that is not factual.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, I have to be in real estate if I'm going to be wealthy. And wealth is something we all aspire to, but it's not financial. Now, wealth, in my opinion, is giving us the financial security we need to pursue the things that mean the most to us and whatever God has placed on our heart. And that's what real estate can give you.
Amazing. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. To the listener, thank you for listening. Until next time, God bless you and keep moving forward.